Will the new Icon bike save Harley Davidson's blushes? Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So, obviously, the big talking point right now is this new Fat Boy Grey Ghost, the Icon biker, which Harley Davidson have released. And look, lots of people are saying great things. I did a quick reaction video just on my phone the other day, and that was met with mixed opinions as well. And, you know, there's been a few videos out there and a few commentators out there saying what they think about it. There's lots of praise. There's lots of positivity out there for this bike. But there's also some negativity as well. Now, I kind of came in with my reaction, my initial reaction, because I hadn't really dug into it too much, in a kind of middle ground, really. I was kind of wasn't pro, but I certainly wasn't against it. And I suppose I'm still in that kind of mood, really. You know, I think it looks great. It looks like a fantastic bike in the way it looks and the lines of it and the design. But then again, I kind of look at it again and I think, well, it's just a Fat Boy. This is just a Fat Boy with different, shiny, chromy, VD, VPD paint or whatever it is. A bit of an unfortunate name there. And some badges and some emblems. But everything else is exactly the same. I kind of did a contrast between the two bikes, the standard Fat Boy and the Grey Ghost, this Icon bike Fat Boy. And virtually everything is the same, apart from the paint, the mud guards and the tank. And the side covers that have got this VPD treatment on it, this chrome looking paint job on it. Apart from that, apart from the badges and the medallions, I think it's exactly the same or a variation of it. So I kind of looked at the promo video and the promo of this bike as well, and they started talking about, now maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm looking again at the Fat Boy 2025. And that's got rider modes. And they were making a big thing about this having a rider mode, so Grey Ghost having rider modes. They're making a big thing of the Grey Ghost having LED lighting, LED indicators. Well, the Fat Boy 2025 has got all that as well, unless I'm mistaken here. So you do a side-by-side. You can go do this. Go and do this on the website. You can do a side-by-side of the 2025 Fat Boy and the Grey Ghost Fat Boy, and you just flick between the two. Look at the images, flick between the two, and it's exactly the same. There's nothing different on it, apart from badges and paint. That's about as much as I can tell. The exhausts are exactly the same. The wheels are exactly the same. I'm not saying that they should have redesigned the whole bike, but I kind of think, well, it's just the Fat Boy with different paint. Now, okay, let's just draw back from this a little bit, because if let's say you took any bike and you wanted to have a flashy paint job, like the Grey Ghost has got this VPD thing, whatever it is, yeah, it's going to cost you £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, dollars, shekels, whatever it is, just to have that paint job, right? So I get it. So it's going to be more expensive and you're going to pay more for it anyway. I get it. I get what the pricing is on this bike. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I get where they're coming from. And I get it, they've got all their badges and their emblems and the little details, with the seat. The seat is different, of course, as well on this bike. But then that's about it. It's just a Fat Boy with just a few little things. Now, in my reaction video, and again, and I got messages and emails on this as well, people kind of poking the bear a little bit on this one, where I basically said, this is just a special edition bike. This is not really an iconic bike. Now, let me make this perfectly clear so everybody understands exactly what I mean. Yes, the Icon bikes are special edition bikes, but in terms of special edition, or an enthusiast line, okay, what you had with the the Johnny, Fast Johnny, and the tobacco ones last year as well. They are just the standard bikes, but they're special because they've got special paint, they've got something detail on it special, but essentially they're the same bike. They're the same with just a few little things here or paint or whatever it is. That's what makes it a special edition or a limited edition. The Icons, yes, they are special edition or limited edition in that respect, but they have this Icon thing, this Icon label, and it has to be kind of representative or inspired by a previous bike. So on the previous bikes, they've kind of done it. Now, my point was, for it to be iconic, and for it to be representative of an iconic bike, there has to be quite a few similar features on it. And my point was, there are too many things that are not similar, they are dissimilar to the original, than those elements that are similar. Therefore, it's not really heading towards the iconic status or this iconic brand or iconic group of bikes. It's more like it's just a standard limited edition bike. It's not the iconic bike, it's the limited edition. Now, granted, yes, I get that it only has to be representative, only has to get inspiration. But my point is, it's just a standard Fat Boy with flashy paint. That's essentially what it is. Oh, and a different seat. That's it. That's all it's got. So here in the UK, the standard Fat Boy is £22,795. And the Grey Ghost is £25,195. Now, you could exchange those numbers for dollars, shekels, or whatever it is around the world. It's more expensive, and I expect it to be more expensive, the Grey Ghost. And looking at it, yeah, I can see why people are waxing lyrical about it. But also there's this other aspect to this. You'd say, well, there's something to be said about just looking at a bike and saying, oh, how amazing it is. And there's something else to be said if you have to live with that bike and use it on a daily basis or just a weekend thing or once in a while. So quite a few people, quite a few YouTube channels out there especially, have been saying that they've done absolutely everything right with this bike, and they've kind of listened to the Harley Davidson, fandom and everything like this, and that this is saving Harley Davidson and this is a fantastic thing. And I'm just kind of looking at it and going, I don't see that. Now, lots of people, sent me messages say, look, all these bikes are sold. They're already sold. How can you say that they've missed the mark? How can you say that, they haven't done they haven't got this right? My point here is that these kinds of bikes, these iconic bikes, these enthusiast bikes, they're always going to find a home, because the kind of people who are likely to buy these are those with relatively deep pockets anyway. Or in this case, are already a Fat Boy owner, and they're just going to trade in and get this one. They're willing to pay that extra for this icon status. I get it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because they're selling these bikes, these 1,990 bikes or whatever it is around the world, and pre-orders have already, been done, and, people are just waiting on their bikes now. And I hear that the allocation for the UK, which was 17 bikes, they've already gone through, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be, representative of the health of the company. That's just 1,990 bikes. Now, if I made a video a few weeks ago talking about the relationship or the comparison between a company like Harley Davidson and Honda, who are selling millions and millions of bikes. And there are other companies out there selling millions of bikes. Granted, different bikes and different styles of bikes. But, Harley Davidson are just minnows here. So just because they're selling these bikes, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's representative of the brand appreciation, or if people are going to really want to buy this bike. This is a special bike. So there's always going to be people out there who are going to want to buy something special. So if Harley Davidson are just going to bring out lots and lots of different special bikes, I get it. It might be a good marketing ploy. But a one-off bike once a year? Not sure. I'm not sure that's anything to write home about. My initial reaction to this bike was, it's just a Fat Boy. They haven't really done anything apart from paint and badges. They haven't really done anything different. Yes, there might be a few little touches here and there. The seats, okay, granted, but that's about it. Now, I'm not saying that the changes that they've made is not worth the extra money that you're going to pay that. That's a subjective thing. That's whether you determine whether there's value in that, or whether you believe you much prefer just a standard Fat Boy with the extra little bit of power that it's got. My other point was, well, why didn't they just put this as the full power bike anyway? Why did they just have to bring the power down just with that air filter, that aesthetics on the air filter that they wanted to keep? Why didn't you just, put a high flow air filter in there anyway. I suppose that's a real indictment on the whole air filter saga, where you're only going to lose a couple of horsepower and a couple of foot-pounds of torque with just changing to a different air filter. And you could spend, well, you know, a few £100, dollars, shekels, you know, on getting this new system on your bike. And you kind of think, well, is it really worth it? There's always going to be people who love this bike, and there's always going to be people who absolutely hate it. And there's always going to be people who, like me, are kind of like, yeah, it's okay, you know, it's great, it looks good, but certainly not for me. Certainly I wouldn't buy it. You know, I don't really go for the whole chrome look, but you know, it's, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's you're saying it's an icon bike, fine, I get it. I just think it missed the mark, and I still stand by what I said. I think it missed the mark because it's essentially Harley Davidson pulling the wool over our eyes a little bit here, or in fact a lot, and saying this is something really special. This is what this bike represents. This is what this bike used to be 1990, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And saying, well, actually it isn't. This is just a standard Fat Boy where you put this VPD on it, this paint on it. You've made it look very chromy. It's not really Grey Ghost at all in that respect in terms of colour. Yes, there are a few accent pieces on there with the yellow. You know, there's so much of it. It's essentially a standard Fat Boy, which you've just zhuzhed up a little bit. That's it. Now, if it had different exhausts on it, for example, different seat, different handlebars, you know, there was something really noticeable, a rear fender that just extended just a little bit more, then I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. But because it's so similar, and I still stand by this is a limited edition bike in the general sense, and I just don't think it has any icon status at all, or representative of an icon bike. Yes, there's a little bit of influence there. If it was silver, I'd be like, okay, because I'm looking at the picture now. If it was silver or a grey bike, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's more in keeping. I would give it that. But because they've got this chrome look VPD, I'm kind of thinking, well, you've kind of taking it a bit too far here. And it's still the same bike. There's nothing different here. Even though in the marketing you're saying, oh, this is new, this is new. Well, that was all new on the 2025 Fat Boy anyway. And then other people who were saying, which, you know, there are YouTubers out I actually really like. I really like their channels, like Headshot Rides. I like him. Professional Monk, you know, I like him as well. You know, the kind of, you know, I think it's cool. It's not exactly what I would always do, but, you know, I like it. On the one hand, we're talking about this as, you know, something that the company needed to do to, you know, bring back the clientele and, you know, show that they're listening. On the other hand, you're saying that it's, you know, really, you know, it's great, it's fantastic. But on the other hand, you know, there's a lot of dissension out there, and there's a lot of, you know, people saying, well, this is bollocks, this is rubbish. You know, so I get that there's lots of YouTube channels out there who are jumping on this and either been invited to ride it, and, you know, they're giving their honest thoughts. I'm not saying that everybody's lying here, but they're saying giving their honest thoughts, and they really like it. That's great. And some have intimated that, well, what's it going to be like to live with? You know, do you just want to touch it and see if it marks up? Look, because these are all the kind of things that we'd be looking. I'd be like, you know, what's it like to ride this on a daily basis? What's it like to live with? You know, all that kind of stuff. You know, is it going to be an absolute nightmare to own and ride because you're just going to get covered in bugs and crap, and you're never going to get it back to the way it was when it first came out of the showroom? All that kind of stuff. But I kind of feel that the kind of people who are probably going to buy this aren't really that concerned about that anyway. They're different people. They're not like you and I who are going to be riding this on a daily basis. I can pretty much guarantee that, you know, you're not going to have somebody riding this through the winter months like I ride my bike all year round. You're not going to have somebody who's just, you know, if it's just a bit dirty, they're going to leave it for a day. That's fine. It's not a problem. You know, this is just coming out on warm, sunny days, dry days, maybe at a weekend, maybe just take it to a show on the back of a trailer. Look, if people want to go and buy this bike, fill your boots. If you want to pay the extra money for it, fill your boots. I just feel that this is really just a standard Fat Boy, and they've just usually do it up a little bit, if that's the term you want to use. And there are lots of YouTube channels out there who have basically said how great this is. Fill your boots. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. If that's your opinion, that's what you truly feel. There are lots of people out there, as I say, that, you know, looking at it, what's this going to be really like to live with on a daily basis? But let's face it, most people who are buying this aren't going to be riding it on a daily basis. It's going to be on a dry day, maybe a weekend, and maybe it'll just be on some kind of plinth somewhere on some sort of platform on a display. That's about it. Most people aren't going to be riding this bike, but those who do, fair play, go for it. But I just think it'd be a nightmare to ride it. And if I was going to buy it, I'll be looking at a standard Fat Boy, not one of these. But I tell you what, is this a bike to save the company? Are Harley Davidson back? Are they winning over the favor of everybody? Well, as I said, there's always going to be people who love this bike. Absolutely, they're going to love it. And they're going to want to buy it. But that's not indicative of whether this company has really won the hearts and minds back. Everybody's going to buy this bike. It will sell out really quickly. But it's not an icon bike. This is just a special edition bike, as I've already said. Is this, the company listening? Is this and then changing their ways? Well, if they're changing their ways, they wouldn't have tried to pull the wool over your eyes and use a big marketing campaign saying this is really different when it isn't. It's just a Fat Boy with different paint. That's it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos. Don't forget to go to the website, RevelatorAlf.com/books for all the books, motorcycle books, sports books, whatever it is. And I'll catch you again, another video coming very soon. Right, let's get out of this sauna once and for all. Bye now.